I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Eva Birthistle from Bad Sisters. You play Ursula, the middle sibling in the Garvey family. What did you think of her and her story when it first came to you?
Um, it's funny, if I'm to be totally honest, when I first read the scripts, when Sharon sent the scripts, um, Ursula wasn't initially the character that jumped off the page for me. And I sort of had to do a bit more sort of searching and digging to try and get to, I suppose, the core of who she really is. Um, and because I think she had sort of she's a lot more complex than I think I first gave her credit for. I think the other sort of sisters, I'm not sure she had lots going on like all the other sisters, but I think um she didn't have the initial sort of obvious appeal, I suppose. I don't really know why, because now that I've played her, I've absolutely adored playing her. And I've sort of realized what she was struggling with, and this sort of stage in her life she was at, sort of being in an unhappy marriage, but with a person that she very much loved, and in a career that's sort of a job that takes up all the hours of the day, and she's struggling with three kids. And I just sort of realized sort of the depths of her struggle. But then sort of layer the comedy on top of it. Her sort of neurosis and sort of selfishness was something that I really started to sort of layer on top of that, and then really, really enjoyed playing. That she sort of always managed to put herself at the center of all the kind of situations or problems that were going on, and much to her sister's frustration. So I think it was more about me as an actor reading it for the first time, not fully sort of getting who she was. And then once I started to, pick away at it and talk to Sharon and talk to Dervla and discuss sort of, who she is and where she fits in the family and why she behaves the way that she does. It all came to life then. We were all sort of sitting around the table having those initial chats about who the sisters were and how they related to each other. That's when she really started to come alive, and she's been brilliant to play.
What character did pop off the page to you when you first read it?
I've always claimed that it's been BB, because for very shallow reasons, I just wanted to wear an eye patch. She just looked so cool. She's like, I want to wear an eye patch. It's as shallow as that. But Sarah has obviously done an incredible job with her, and probably much more nuanced than I ever would have done. So it was absolutely the right casting.
Well, I mean, I had a chance to talk with her, and I'll let you know that the eye patch was a blessing and a curse in many ways.
It was a blessing and a curse. Yeah, I know, because as much as it sort of, she had this really strong look. The realities of playing it, wearing that every day, it wasn't the most comfortable for her. So I sort of, not that long into the shoot, I kind of silently thought, oh, thank God it's not me.
Now, with so many complicated relationships in your character's life, and so much family history with her sisters and of course her husband and all of that, did you come up with more of Ursula's backstory for yourself in order to better understand her and help motivate your performance as a way to understand her?
Yeah, because I think you always have to do that really with character, and building a character. It's that there can be lots on the page and lots to work from, but a writer rarely gives you a full backstory, so it's something that they kind of leave up to the actor to do. And that was really fun to do, and some of that's collaborative, like having the chats with the girls about what our childhood would have been like, and when our parents died, what happened in the family. And I sort of, Ursula would have left home at sort of quite a young age to go to nursing college, and so her relationships would have changed very much at an earlier stage than the rest of them, just because she wasn't there, and then she had her family quite young. So a lot of those conversations were collaborative, and building that whole familial picture. And then the other stuff, you just sort of as you do on your own, what you sort of feel like will help or fill in those blanks, and that was probably more to do, myself and John Joe, who plays Donal, my husband in it, had sort of those discussions as well. Like when what happened to the marriage? You know, when did it go wrong, and why did it go wrong? And we sort of talked about the pressures of you know, on couples with you know, kids, and trying to hold down jobs that they're like sort of ships in the night, and they don't spend much time with each other. So yeah, I think, you know, a lot of that building of character is done with others, with the people you're sort of having to relate with, and then also done some of the stuff is done on your own as well. So it's really fun part of the process. That I really enjoy that.
Now, every one of the sisters has her own reason to want to, you know, do in John Paul, but Ursula has one of the most intense experiences when he, you know, tricks her into sending him an intimate photo of herself. How was it to play that? Because that's such a profound sense of humiliation and violation that he puts her through. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it really is. And I think, you know, it's also, we're in a time obviously where that, you know, we've all heard those stories about you know, people's privacy being compromised like that, and in such a horrific way. And you know, and you know, I know that sort of especially in the last, you know, sort of few years, hearing so many stories more to do with teenagers, and getting, you know, the photos being shared on social media and stuff. And it's just it's such a horrific thing, such a violation, that it was I thought it was a really interesting um um angle for the story to take. um and so to play it was just, yeah, I suppose it was just trying to capture the horror of that, you know, being put in that kind of a situation. I mean, Clace, who plays JP, you know, he's sort of deliciously evil. You know, he sort of plays that role so well, and is so terribly good at it. And you know, he's really fun to act opposite, but also he absolutely, you know, strikes the right tone with it's very difficult sometimes in a show like this, when there's so much going on tonally, when to play the comedy of it and when to play the weightier, more serious stuff. So it was but he made that quite easy. You know, it was quite easy to hate his character. So yeah, it was something that I just sort of hoped that I would sort of strike the right balance, because you sort of, you know, it's that awful shock of what happens, Ursula, but um like so much of the show, I think there's sort of also a sort of a that sort of weird, sort of funny, weird comedy tone in it, where you're just sort of teetering between it being funny and it being really awful, and that kind of runs throughout the whole series. So it's just knowing. I mean, all you can do is sort of play it truthfully and honestly, of course, but there are funny beats in it. So it's just knowing when also to hit those beats. But I think that whole sequence of the sort of the photo and running into the toilet, and the driving the car with the kids to the hospital to try and get to Donald's phone and everything. I have to give, you know, huge credit to the editor and Derba's direction, because it really sort of, you know, and the score, like the whole thing sort of you know, it's all about tension, isn't it, and build, and it just does that so beautifully that it makes that sequence work really well. Wish I could take all the glory for it, but I can't.
Now, as you were playing her and getting to know Ursula, did you feel like she was better off staying with her family, or should she have chosen Ben?
Oh, I mean, it's such a difficult question to answer. It's so complicated, isn't it? It's so much is at stake, you know. Primarily they have three kids, and that's mean, you know, you can't sort of take any of those decisions lightly. And I think she's racked with guilt for how she's going about it. She's having this affair, and it's not that that sits easily with her. And she loves Donal. I think they have over the years become best friends, you know, but they're not in love with each other anymore. She's not in love with him, and they've been with each other a very long time. It's, you know, we all know those stories or know those people, don't we, where they've got to that stage in their relationship, and it's just time that they probably weren't with each other anymore. And it's really, really sad, but it's, I think, that very difficult quandary that a lot of people find themselves in. It's just like, do we stay together for the kids? Do we break up? And I think with Ben, Ursula felt, young again and felt like alive again, and revisiting parts of her personality that had sort of been dormant for a very long time. So I think you can't blame a person either. You can sort of, it's just complicated. So to answer your question, oh, I think she probably shouldn't be in the marriage with Donal anymore. Whether Ben was the right person or not is another thing. Whether he'd been able to sort of, take on the whole family and manage that I suppose that's, who knows. But I think, it's sad to say, but I think probably Donal and Ursula had probably run their course.
And you mentioned Claes Bang, who plays John Paul, how good he is at playing the prick. So it's easy to understand the sister's actions with his performance. I hope he didn't stay in character offset.
No, thankfully he didn't. No, I think I mean, I think it is hard for an actor though, when they're, playing that type of a part, because I think people almost expect him to have an element of that in his personality. But no, I think he tried to join in the crack as much as he could, and to have fun offset. So I think you can't. I think you'd really isolate yourself otherwise. Yeah.
What was your favorite of the methods of homicide that the sisters attempted?
As in, what was my favorite one to be involved in? Like acting in, or just story wise?
Either or.
Either or. Okay. I think it probably. I think it's when we draw, like, shooting it from an actor's point of view, for fun on set. What was, like, I really struggled keeping a straight face filming was when we're all in his house and we drug him, and he, we're in his bedroom and he's sort of flailing around the place in a very drugged stupor. That I just found that all so hilarious, and I had to work really hard at keeping a straight face because we were just making each other laugh a huge amount, and that's probably my favorite, just for sheer comedy purposes. And then the following bit of that sequence, watching Claes actually climb on a boat with only a pajama top on and tumble into the water was comedy gold. But also he was such a brilliant sport about the whole thing. He really, really went for it. While we sat all cozy in a car at 3 o'clock in the morning in some car park, and he was like flailing around in the water in a pajama top. I just thought, hats off to you.
Now, the show has been really well received. It won the BAFTA Award for Best Drama Series. Yes. How meaningful was that to you, and the response to the show in general?
I mean, the response to the show in general has been phenomenal. It's just joyous and lovely to see how many people have enjoyed it. But what a diverse audience as well, like from ages, or or wherever in the world they're from, or whatever gender. It just the response has been incredible, and it's really lovely to be part of a show that seems to have really made such an impact with so many people. I think that's first and foremost been. I've been acting a long time, and I've done shows that have been successful and fun and everything, but I've never been in anything that actually had such a sort of that landed so well, and it's been just lovely to be part of that, and winning the BAFTA was it was amazing. It's that thing when you don't win, you kind of go, oh well, it's just the awards don't matter. It doesn't matter. But when you do, and you go, yes, come on, because also the other nominees were. There's shows, I watched all those shows, and they're brilliant, and the performances are brilliant, and the shows are brilliant, and we're a really good company. So it was a huge, compliment, understatement to win it, and I suppose also because it's such an ensemble piece as well. To get best drama, it just felt like, well, that's something that we're all part of creating. Cast, crew, everybody had their input in that, and it's the awards for all of us, which I think is just really lovely for the show. So it was a brilliant night, really, really fun.
And the show is returning for a second season.
Yes, it is.
do you have any like hopes or ideas for where you want Ursula's story to go in the second season?
Well, I always kind of think, Sharon comes up with much better ideas than I do. So I'm just happy with that. With probably anything she'll put on the page, I'll go, oh, that's really good. That's much better than what I thought of. So I'm excited to see the scripts. And I suppose hopes would maybe be that we go somewhere warmer to do any of the swimming scenes. We're sort of joking the other day, we're all on a Zoom together and we said, what about, a road trip to sort of Spain, or swimming in Mauritius, instead of the 40-foot in Dublin. As much as I love the 40-foot in Dublin, it was bloody cold. So I suppose on a selfish level, maybe swimming in some warmer seas would be nicer. But no, I think I'd like Ursula, I suppose, to find. If I say something really corny, like I'd like her to find happiness and to settle. I wouldn't like her to settle down. I don't think. I think actually she needs to go and have a bit of fun and explore herself and her new life, and sort of enjoy not being in a relationship. I think that would actually be quite a fun thing to see and a fun thing to explore. So we'll see.
Well, congratulations on season one. I'm looking forward to season two and wherever that takes Ursula and the rest of the sisters. Thank you so much for talking with me about the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. It was really nice to talk about it.